There are 12 stages or steps in a hero's journey. These steps have always been followed since early myths and are still present in today's stories. Each step represents something important to a story, and each one is very different. The story starts with a status quo. A status quo is the description of who the hero is, what they do, what the world they live in is like, etc., before they are called to adventure. An example of a status quo would be the beginning of Captain America. Steve Rogers wanted to fight in the war against the Nazis, but he was rejected due to his poor health conditions. The first step is call to adventure. This one is sort of self-explanatory. It is something that causes the hero to have a reason to begin their journey. An example of this would be in Big Hero 6, Hero wanted to get revenge after his brother died. Step 2 is assistance. This could be a number of things: advice, a weapon of some sort, another character, or any other sort of thing that helps the hero later on in the story. Assistance can also give the hero another reason to go on their journey. An example of assistance is Baymax from Big Hero 6. He was Hero's companion and stayed with him for his journey. Step 3. Departure. The hero begins their journey to wherever they were called to go. This is where they enter the special world. The special world is their quest world, the world where the quest occurs. This world is always different from their ordinary world. An example of departure would be in Brave when Merida enters the forest. By doing this, she enters the special world of the story and begins the quest.
Trials is step 4, and it is usually where the story starts to pick up speed. Trials are the problems and puzzles the hero must face on their way to their destination. An example of trials would be when Shrek has to fight off Lord Farquaad's forces. Approach, step 5. The hero is almost there. They have conquered the previous trials and are ready to take on whatever comes next. An example of approach would be when Mulan and her army were approaching the Huns. Step 6. Crisis. The hero faces their biggest challenge yet, and this is the turning point of the story. During the crisis, a number of things can happen, ranging from the hero succeeding without a scratch to the hero dying and that death being final. An example of crisis would be when Manhattan is attacked by aliens in The Avengers. Step 7 is treasure. The reward the hero gets after the crisis. There are lots of things the treasure could be, but an example of one is Merida getting her mother back in Brave. Step 8, the result. The hero obtains their treasure. Now what? Result explains what happens before their return and after their treasure. An example of result is in Harry Potter. Harry beats Quirrell and gets the Sorcerer's Stone. He becomes known for defeating Voldemort for the first time.
Step 9 is return. It is the end of their journey in the special world and the start of their new life in their ordinary world. Is the hero famous? Are they dead? These types of questions are answered in the return. An example of return would be when Marlin and Nemo go home after Nemo is found. Their new life begins in step 10. Now that their journey is over, what are they going to do? An example of a new life is in Infinity War. The world tries to get used to missing half of its population. Resolution is step 11, and it clears up any plot holes or unanswered question during the hero's journey. An example of resolution would be in Big Hero 6 when Hero discovers that the masked man is Robert Callahan. Finally, step 12, status quo. Who is their hero now? What do they do now? What is the world they live in like now? These questions are answered and the story is over, unless the hero gets a new quest in which all these steps repeat. An example of the final status quo is in Endgame when all the Avengers and their family go to Tony Stark's funeral.